Hi, my name is Justin Durham, and today I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about parables. So parables were Jesus' main way of teaching. Mark even said he didn't teach without using parables. And there are about 46 unique parables that are in the synoptic gospels. Luke contains the most with 24, and John contains 0, mostly because it was written from different sources. But let's define what a parable is first. So a parable is a story that uses concrete language and examples to communicate difficult and esoteric ideas, concepts, and theology. So there is a distinction between what a parable is, an allegory is, and what a fable is. And let me just explain that quickly. A parable is an extended simile showing how something or someone is like the story that you're talking about, while an allegory is a story picturing concepts by means of persons or elements in the story named for each concept. So an example of that would be like Pilgrim's Progress, if you've read that before. And finally, a fable is when an animal or object speaks a story to you, teaches you a moral lesson. So Jesus's parables had such a great impact on our culture even 2,000 years later, that like common phrases are even used like to this day, like prodigal son, good Samaritan, and like the faith of a mustard seed. They're all used by people who probably haven't even read the Bible before. That's how great of an impact it has. But so now I want to talk about, why did Jesus choose to teach in parables? Why did he choose to do that? Jesus was an amazing teacher who impressed Jewish leaders even from a young age. By using parables, Jesus was able to immediately connect to listeners because the truth of his message corresponded with cultural things from people's daily lives, like baking bread, farming, etc. Jesus brought a completely new and spiritually abstract method that utterly challenged the moral system of the Jews. Like, this information that he was bringing was completely upside down to them. So by using memorable and easy to understand methods of communication, everyday agricultural farming people could receive this message and understand it. But while Jesus paired his truth with understandable methods, he at the same time veiled these keys to the kingdom elusively, meaning that the response of the listener is essential to the process of creating understanding. Which leads me to my final point, and that is, how do we properly interpret the parables? If Jesus had come at our time, likely his parables would have been much different. It would have been something like, the kingdom of heaven is like a smartphone or an Xbox or something like that. So when we read parables now, we have to understand the historical and cultural implications of the time. We also need to understand the need that prompted the parable, then identify the central truth that's relative to the kingdom. And finally, the most importantly, we have to respond to this truth in the way that Jesus intended. So you may ask, why did Jesus purposely veil truth? Jesus shared truth in ways that a child could grasp, but because of their hardness of heart, many in Israel would not accept his message. And Jesus explains this in Matthew 13, chapter 13, verses 11 through 13. He says, "Because the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven have been given to you, but not to them. And this is why I speak in parables. Though seeing they do not see, though hearing they do not hear or understand." So the Pharisees fulfilled this prophecy in Isaiah. That though they seeing do not see, that was from Isaiah. And the Pharisees fulfilled this because they dismissed the ideas that were too accessible. Instead of seeking truth, they wanted to be the sole owners of this complicated information. They wanted to put themselves above the average everyday person. And that's why they rejected Jesus. He came to tear down their systems. So from this, we know that acceptance of spiritual truth will always result in a greater understanding. When we say yes, we accept the light that Jesus brings to us, it brings further and better understanding of new and more revelation. But if we reject this, It always results in confusion and hardness of heart. And because the Pharisees had already rejected the truth, and they knew better, Jesus said, but because they had rejected this truth, they weren't able to understand the simple message that Jesus brought. Well, I hope this gave a better understanding of what parables are and how to interpret them. And I hope you have a great and better, fantastic day. And yeah, thank you.